Hi guys, welcome to Business and Professional Writing English 3090. I'm Dr. Fury and I'm going to be your professor for this class. And this is our week one lecture. So, going forward, our lectures will most likely be live. That way, if you would like to attend it, you can. And then there will also be a recording posted if that is more convenient for you. But usually the first week and especially the first day with online classes and just all classes is kind of hectic. I think especially with the online classes because there's a lot of information for you to process about, where do you go, what are the assignments, where can you find them on the computer, and my feeling is that it's not all provided in the most central location, and it could be a little bit confusing. So that's why, as you noticed, I posted a number of announcements just to try to provide you with some of the basic information to get you started. So I am, well, you've probably seen the last announcement I'm going to post, which I actually haven't written yet, but which will be posted before you see this lecture. So I'm not going to discuss the assignments that you have for the week because I'm going to post an announcement that addresses them. So this lecture is pretty much just going to cover the reading assignments for Unit 1. So the reading assignments for this week are Chapter 1 from the textbook, and the textbook is called Business and Professional Writing, a Basic Guide, and that information was mentioned in one of the announcements. And then there is another there's another essay for you to read. It's actually a news article that is posted on Canvas, and it is called Your Elevator Pitch Needs an Elevator Pitch. So you need to read both of the reading assignments before you start the other assignments, like the discussion question, and yeah, just plan on not beginning. I said I wasn't going to talk about the assignments, and I am, but I'll just say this one thing. Plan on doing the reading assignments before you start the other assignments each week. So anyway, I'm going to go over the first chapter in the textbook, and I'm not really going to I'll briefly go over the second one, Your Elevator Pitch Needs an Elevator Pitch. That one is more straightforward. And it's posted on Canvas, so you'll all be able to access it. But I was just worried that some of you might not be able to get the textbook for the first week, because let's say if you're ordering it from Amazon, it might not come for a few days. So every week I will post a lecture that will take you through the reading assignments, so that way, even though the textbook is supposed to be required, if for some reason you're not able to get it right away or get it at all, the lectures will definitely help you out a lot. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to just get started. These are my notes. Okay, so the first thing that the textbook talks about is how much writing and communication skills matter in the real world. So no matter what field you go into, communication, and by that they mean written communication and oral communication, is probably one of the most important skills that you're going to have. All employers consider it in studies and polls, report it as one of the most important skills, and also, interestingly, one of the skills that they find to be the most lacking among their employees. So, and that may be because we live in what some people describe as a post-literate age. And what does that mean? Well, in the 1950s, almost all people, especially educated people, read. People read for entertainment, and then people also read to get their information. So, reading was a part of daily life, period. And because reading was such a big part of people's lives, kind of just by default, they became really great writers. And, even today, if you want to develop your writing skills, one thing that you can do is read quality writing, as on a regular basis. But since the 1950s, which is when TV came out, and then movies, and then video games, and then moving forward in time, we had increased use of TVs and increased use of movies and video games, and then we had computers and cell phones and text messages and social media and autocorrect and spell check and grammar check. So the result of all this is that we now have several generations of people, and this is not me saying it, this is the textbook saying it. We have several generations of people who are really not the best writers, not so good at writing. And this is a really big problem because it's a problem. So studies show that people who are excellent and very strong writers tend to make about twice as much money as those who are not very good writers. And similar studies tend to show that people who are strong communicators tend to be employed at twice the rate that people who are poor communicators are. So that is some concrete evidence as to the value of strong communication skills. So professional writing refers to writing and communication that is used in the professional sphere. So in law, in architecture, in education, you may go into a field where you are writing. Let's say if you go into journalism, but whatever career you go into, you're going to have to write emails and most likely memos and different types of communication to other people in your organization. And you might even write some things that are for consumption by a large audience within your organization. And it may be possible at times that you're writing for everyone from, let's say, I don't know, the administrative assistant to the CEO. And that means that you have a very general audience. So it is important that your writing is clear, that it is strong, and that the reader does not have to try to figure out your message. So all of that is important in strong writing. So the book reminds us that we also need to care about grammar, because grammar, even though it can be annoying and tricky, grammar is one of the characteristics that can either make writing good or make it not so good and make it difficult for people to read. So that's one more thing that we're going to work on. I will try to comment on your grammar if you have grammatical errors, and when you go forward you can make an effort to improve your grammar, and that's one way that your grammar will get better if there is room for it to get better. So the book reminds us that we are very much judged based on our writing, whether that is right or wrong. It tends to happen all the time, and if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. So again, just using the book's example, let's say you were to go to a website now. Let's pretend we need to rent a car, and we go to the Avis website, and it has typos, and it has words that are spelled incorrectly, and it has bad grammar. I'll give you an example. Let's see, where is the sentence I wrote down? So I can't find it. I'm sorry, I wrote down a sample sentence. Okay, welcome to Avis. We know that renting a car can be a difficult time of year. So the sentence I just read to you, welcome to Avis. We know that renting a car can be a difficult time of year. So that's the example sentence that the book provides. Why is that bad? Well, it's just wrong because renting a car is not a time of year. So that's one example of an error. So the book asks us, if you went to a website because you needed to rent a car or because you needed any type of good or service, and you saw that the details of the website, like the writing, were wrong, that there were typos or spelling errors, would you feel comfortable relying on that company to deliver the product or service? If this company cannot get the small details of their website right, Can you trust them with your business? Can you trust them to get car rentals right? Maybe not. So the point is that mistakes in writing tend to equal or result in a loss of credibility. So that is why it is so important that your writing is correct. And that means correct grammar, correct spelling, because it reflects on you. So, let's see. Sorry. Okay, so let's see. We just did the webs. Oh, another example I wanted to mention. I don't know if we have any people who are on the student newspaper, but I actually sat down and started reading a copy one day, and there were lots of grammatical errors and spelling errors. And I sat and I made some notes, and I was going to bring it to I was gonna look up like where that office is, where the student paper is located, and bring my notes. But then I thought they probably wouldn't appreciate that. But the point I'm trying to make is that people notice if your writing contains errors, and that ultimately it leads to a judgment about you. So that's why it's important to try to make your writing as free of those errors as possible. Something else that the book notes is the sort of modern tendency of educators to not criticize students, especially in elementary school. So what we have today is students who maybe aren't corrected on their spelling, or aren't, let's say someone in elementary school spells something wrong. The teacher doesn't want to make the student feel self-conscious or feel like they're wrong, so the teacher won't say anything, and creative spelling is celebrated rather than correct spelling. And what that results in is, I'll read so many spelling errors that I get, even though I teach at a university. So that's just another thing to think about, because let's say you are someone who enjoys creative writing. I'm into that as well. But you can't really move people creatively if you're not clearly stating your point. So for whatever type of writing you're into, it's important that you state your point clearly and correctly. So let's see. Okay, so one of the first points in the book is the difference between business writing and academic writing. So it's important for us to realize that most of our lives we have been familiarized with academic writing because we go to school, K through 12, and then many of us go on to college. So academic writing tends to have big words. It tends to have kind of long sentences, long paragraphs. It can have big, complicated ideas, and readers are not going to question that, because we are taught that writing is something that we may have to analyze and we may have to work on, understanding. But in the business world, that is not the case. In the business world, time is money. And a business audience is not going to sit there for 20 minutes or even 5 minutes to try to figure out what your message is. So in business writing, you want to use small words. You want to keep things simple. Your sentences should be short. Your paragraphs should be short. You want your message to be crystal clear. Again, your audience is not going to spend any time trying to figure out what you're saying. So your message needs to be crystal clear. Let's see. You want to use plain language. You want to use something that the book identifies as the 7 C's, which we'll go over later. You want to make sure that you use copy editing. You want to be aware of document design principles. Let's see. You want to be familiar with characteristics of business and professional correspondence. You want to be familiar with principles of job search letters and resumes. Uh, you want to be familiar with the formatting of promotional materials, informal reports, and formal reports. And we're going to learn about all these things in this class. So the audience of academic writing tends to be a specialized audience. An example that I can give you is me, for example. I'm an English professor. So the types of things that I read might be on JSTOR or any of the academic databases that you can access through the library. And when I'm reading something on like The Great Gatsby or Beowulf, the language tends to be very specialized, meaning that people within my discipline, within like literature, tend to be familiar with the words because there are a lot of specialized words that I'm familiar with, or that someone who's within English or literature is familiar with, but someone in maybe history or biology isn't going to be familiar with. So in academic writing, it's not very reader friendly. It is to the people in the particular discipline, but to others it is not. Another great example is legal documents. If your family or you've ever bought a house, at the closing there's this, I don't even know what to call it, not even a document because it's like this thick, but it contains, it's a legal document. And that's why you need one of the reasons you need a realtor or a lawyer. You need a realtor and a lawyer to help you go through these documents, because you can't make sense of them if you're not a lawyer or a realtor. Another example is our laws and regulations. If you were to look up a law from the state of New Jersey or a regulation, most of the time the way they're written is not reader friendly at all. So a regular person like me or you read them and we don't understand what the law or regulation is saying. So businesses and governments are starting to recognize that this is a problem. Why? Because they are not writing just for other businesses and other governments. They're writing for regular people like us. So they need to take their information and state it simply. Use small words, short sentences, short paragraphs, and pay close attention to style. I'll give you another example. Let's say you receive an email at your place of business, and it's a long, lengthy paragraph, or let's say too long, just a block of text. Are you going to want to read that email? No. I know for me, if I get an email like that, I'm going to dread opening it, and I'm going to just procrastinate and put it off as long as possible. But the kinds of emails that I like are the ones that are short, and if they are long, there will be what's called white spaces. Now, a white space is just what it sounds like. It's white space. So you'll hit the return bar a few times in between your short paragraphs. So that is one component of document design that makes your writing more reader friendly. So in the business world, you want to use white space. You don't want to have huge blocks of text. And let's see, what else? Is there anything else? Oh, and then also in business writing, a less formal tone is also considered appropriate. So those are just some of the differences between academic writing and business writing. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot a few more. So a few other characteristics of business writing. You want your language to be short and concise, not wordy. What is something that's wordy? A wordy sentence, I got lots of these in papers. A wordy sentence is a sentence that says something maybe in 8 words that could be said just as efficiently, actually more efficiently, in 3. What is an example of a wordy sentence? I'll give you one. Okay, here we go. In today's day and age, people are less skilled at writing than they were in the past. So the wordy part is in today's day and age. You don't need that. You can just say today, people are not as skilled at writing as they were in the 1950s. So do you see how it's just much easier to say today? Another example of a wordy sentence could be, let's see, where is it? Let's see. Where is it? Oh, in order to do business. So you don't need in order to. You could just say to do business. So you don't want your sentences to be wordy, and then you want to eliminate repetition. So what is an example of a repetitive sentence? I will give you one. Actually, it's the books, but please return my stapler to me. So that's repetitive. Why is it repetitive? Because you could just say, please return my stapler. You don't need to say, return my stapler to me. If it's my stapler, I could just say, return it. So do you see how that's repetitive? So you want to be sure that you don't have wordy sentences or any repetition. Now, that's actually something that's also bad in academic writing. That kind of goes for all types of writing. Let's see. In business writing, you also want to, in addition to using white spaces, you want to make use of things like headings, subheadings, lists, tables. You want to follow principles of good design. And remember, white space. These are all things that will make your documents more reader friendly. So you don't want to just deliver a page or a block of text that is going to push your reader away. So you don't want to do that. So over short periods of time, governments and businesses are seeing that through using plain language, they are able to be more effective in communicating. This creates better public relations. It saves them money. It creates fewer errors on, for all parties, for the people using let's say the government website or document, and then also for the government agency. And then it also reduces costs for the public, because if the agency has less costs, they're going to pass less costs on to us. So the use of plain English and plain language has proven very, very helpful in the business world and the government world. So that's how you want to, that's what you want to keep in mind when you're writing. The single most important thing is that your message is clear. Because again, the reader is not, time is money. The reader is not going to spend any time trying to figure out your message. And whatever it is you are trying to persuade your reader of, if they cannot understand what you're saying, you're not going to persuade them of anything. If you cannot clearly communicate your message, you're going to lose a client, a sale, a promotion every time. So it's super important that your writing is clear. That's the most important characteristic. And to achieve that, you should always, always, always proofread and copy edit. So these are actually two different things. Proofreading is, well, first of all, copy editing is kind of just a run through to eliminate technical errors, typos, spelling errors. Proofreading is a more in-depth type of revision that you do before turning in a final draft, or before turning in a draft that's going to be graded. So something that I always recommend to students, let's say you have a writing assignment or an oral assignment that is due on, I believe our due date is going to be Tuesday. So let's say you have a writing assignment due Tuesday. I would, my suggestion would be that you get it done, let's say get it done Saturday night or at the latest Sunday morning. That way you can let it sit for an entire day, a day or two. And let's say you go back to it Monday night. When you go back to it, you're going to have a little bit more distance. You're going to be able to see what you've written with a little more objectivity. And when you read it over slowly, you will notice more of the errors, and you'll be in a better position to fix them and to communicate clearly. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to spare you the boring sentences from government websites that are no longer used, because that would, yeah, I'll spare you that. And so the last thing I'm going to talk to you about briefly is the second reading assignment, which is your elevator pitch needs an elevator pitch. So one of the assignments you're going to be doing this week is an elevator pitch. Now, please don't attempt to do the elevator pitch until you have read the essay, or the article rather. Now, read it. I'm just going to give you a short summary here. So if you don't know what the elevator pitch is, let's say you're getting into an elevator to go home from class, tomorrow or tonight, and I don't know, say the dean gets on the elevator, and you are in the elevator with the dean or with another important person who you have always wanted to talk to share your ideas with. And let's say, just stroke of luck, this person turns to you and says, "Hi, I'm such and such. Who are you? What do you do?" Now, the article points out, or the article says, that whoever this is, they really don't care what you do. They're just being polite. They're making conversation. They're making small talk. And unfortunately, one of the conventions of small talk is that we do it because we're socialized to, and we're just kind of being polite. So what you don't want to do is say the basic thing that everyone says, which is like, "Hi, I'm Mia. I'm 21. I'm a student at Kane University. I'm majoring in English, and I want to go to grad school in the fall." Why don't you want to say that? Because there are literally thousands of students who are also seniors at Kane University, who are also maybe not English majors, but going to graduate school, who could say the same exact thing that you have just said. And that is the quickest way to lose someone's attention, to bore someone. So the article tells us that the first thing you want to do is deliver what is called a verbal slap. And how do you do that? So you say something that the person doesn't expect you to say. You hit them with a question, and not just any question, a question about them. It's also a question that kind of leads back to you and what you're trying to communicate. But so you want to ask an interesting question, because that is going to sort of, hey, like, jar the person, like, what? I wasn't expecting that. And if it's a good question, which you're supposed to think about it, not just make it up as you go, but so if you think of a good question, it's going to pull that person in. And if you get their attention, you're going to have more than the 20 seconds, which is kind of the standard elevator pitch time. If you ask a good enough question, and if you follow the other steps that are mentioned in the article, chances are that the elevator rider will actually be willing to miss their stop and listen to your pitch, and they're going to be really listening, and you actually have a shot of making an impression and an important connection. So that's kind of the nutshell summary of your elevator pitch needs an elevator pitch. But don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself. It's posted on Canvas in Unit 1. And I think that is everything. I hope I didn't go too fast. It's about 28 minutes now, and I didn't want to be slow and bore you. So this, again, the lecture for week 1. I hope I provided a good summary of the first chapter and enough information to get you interested in your elevator pitch needs an elevator pitch, which is short, don't worry, and interesting, and you can find it on Canvas. Now, thus far, I've posted 3 announcements on Canvas. One of them tells you about the textbook that we're using. It also gives you step-by-step instructions to find Canvas if you haven't used it before. And I posted a first announcement that has my office hours and just some basic info about me. And then the last one that I posted just asked you to please not start the discussion question or any of the assignments until tomorrow. I'm going to post one more announcement that kind of mentions some final points to you about the week 1 assignments and where you can find all of the key week 1 information. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it was clear. And I look forward to meeting you guys and watching your introductions, which, in case you haven't seen, well, Sorry. So anyway, I will see you in your introductions, and I will also create one. So I look forward to getting to know you. Bye.